Hello, and welcome to the How Long to Beat podcast. Once again, I had to resist the urge not to say it. What's it? You're never going to know. I'm Rick. I'm joined by Alex and Paula. We've got a jam-packed episode for you this week. We're, as always, going to talk about what we've beaten, retired, and played. There's some interesting stuff in there, let me tell you. And then we're going to cooperate on this week's topic. Said topic being co-op games.
It's pretty good,
not
actually.
my best work.
I didn't mind it. It was on the money.
Yeah, it was.
I'll take that. I will also take no points in this week's edition of
How Long to Beat
The
The
Game,
game.
which I A fucked up and B am hosting. So there you go. Cool. Let's just jump straight into it and just get me away from whatever this intro was. It's not even my first crack. I can't even say that. We stopped and restarted. Alex, you and I played What Lies in the Multiverse.
Yes, and we've beaten it.
We did. And for anyone who's listening, next week we're going to be, next week when you listen, 2 days' time at time of recording, we're going to be speaking again to the lovely guys from Studio Voyager about that game, spoilers, all those things.
Oh yeah, we're gonna be huge. We're gonna talk the whole game, mechanics, everything. Get a look into it. I think it should be pretty fun.
Oh, it will be, and we're going to be very kind to them because they're friends of ours. They're specifically friends of Paula's, and there's a lot to like in their what's it? It's not sophomore, is it? Effort, freshman effort.
First game.
First game, yeah.
Let's just say that.
The first game, what they did make.
Yeah.
It's gonna, for a first attempt, it's really, really good. They've been done dirty by whoever did that translation. Yeah. And I just want to vent now because I don't want to do that to them because they have no involvement in that translation. Like, I don't speak Spanish. I'm sure the original script was lovely, but God, I would genuinely believe that it was a Google Translate job. And the impression I get is that there are professional reviewers who've been less kind than me about that translation. And it's a shame because the game is very story focused. You can tell that even when you can't really tell what it's trying to say with the story in that English translation. Even with that, there are moments of humor that crack through. And that probably helps because any of you that listen regularly, you know that Alex and I aren't really puzzle platforming boys.
Really?
No, not really. And it is with that in mind that it should be recognized that when this game works, it sings. There are some lovely puzzles making use of that multiverse mechanic, that criminally underused multiverse mechanic, and that is something that I expect that we'll get into a bit more with the guys later in the week.
It's a pretty
overall
quick game
I liked it
too.
Yeah, it's like 5.5 hours. I was just gonna say I liked it. I didn't love it. But yeah, jumping in.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I found the gameplay to be really fun. Like, that's the thing. Like, especially when it was doing the multiverse, like, switching, that was the moment where, and it's interesting because, like you said, there are a fair number of times, and I really want to pick their brains on, kind of why there are moments where it's not used as much. And part of me wonders if that's like a pacing thing or if that's part of like the story focus, which is, again, like you said, so. that is part of what makes me a little sad that I feel like we couldn't get the full experience because of the translation. But again, well, there's the life of being an indie developer. So I guess we're just lucky we got an English translation in general. You know what I mean? So, but the actual like gameplay itself is really fun. And it's one of those things where, like I said, it's a quick game, which is a mercy in a puzzle platformer, for me at least, because I find if a game gets too long, it's also like, it's that question of like, how far do you stretch your mechanic? And so this is maybe the question I'll have to ask them too, is like, okay, so do you remove segments that don't use the mechanic and then you have a game that's very, very short, which I probably would have still loved anyway? Or do you push them out, have more of those moments without them? Yeah, because in general, it seems to me like that multiverse switching mechanic takes a fair bit of brain twisting to figure out how you're designing that. You know what I mean? Like, because it's, again, you've got like the dual layered, which we talked with them a little bit about beforehand. And so I think what I was missing is, like, I would have liked a little more. And they do this a little bit. Like, there's one chapter that I was really like, here we go, where the mechanics, like multiple universe mechanics, started to mix with each other.
I know the bit you mean, and I enjoyed it a lot also.
Yeah, I was like, there, here we go, and I wanted more of that. Like I was honestly hoping, and look, I don't know, I'm not a game developer, so my dreams and hopes may be unfeasible, but I was kind of hoping there might be a time where like I could flip through all the universes, or more than just two. I was like, oh, please, let me do it. But I also recognize that might have been unwieldy. Like, I don't know if there's, again, thank God we get to talk to them. They might have play tested and stuff and figured that more than that just becomes like, even for the player, kind of like, I can't figure it out. You know what I mean? Because you've got too much to go through. Because that I understand. But anyway, I guess I just have a lot of questions that I can't wait to ask them. Because I'm like,
we should say as well, you are technically a developer. Like, you've got that little project in the background.
Oh my God. Okay, yes, I have a little project in the background, but like, I'm not someone who's planning on legitimately, like, publishing a game kind of deal, right? Like, someday we'll have it put out for people to play, but we're talking itch.io.
Audience at home, he's Norman Osborn, and I'm something of a game developer myself.
Yeah, no. More on the artist side though. Like, let's be real here too. Like, with in my development partnership, I create the art and he makes the code. So like, I'm a producer. Put it that way. I know, Paula, you finished it as well. Like, what is your rebuttal for us?
I mean, lately, the world switching was a little bit like underused, but I also understand in a way like why they took it away, like when they did. So I feel like there might be a little bit of a pacing issue near I think it was near the end. I'm gonna say where you're collecting like all those notes.
The notes, yeah, in the studio.
Yeah, that's all I'm gonna refer to as that section of the game. But still, I have a lovely time with the game. Virtually, I did get like many breaks while playing, so maybe some of the issues weren't like as blatant to me as they were to you guys, because you play the game like you marathon the game. I don't know how you did that.
Do you know what? I've got a secret. It's being very, very ill and having a couple of days off work. It's for any of you at home who are thinking Rick sounds a little bit more nasally than usual. That's why. Sorry, crack on.
Yeah, so maybe I didn't notice like those issues as much because my game sessions were a little bit more like
spread out,
far between, like or far between, more than few. There were a lot, but yeah, like, and as I said, my brain kind of patches when there's any like translation issues, because I played like some games with horrendous localizations before. Like,
you've been desensitized for sure.
So I've been desensitized to it. So
we also
that's
Otter made me accept this.
So like I didn't notice as much, but like looking back, so it was like, oh yeah, this actually could have made like more sense if said on this way.
Yeah, and I think we sort of mentioned this too. Like, Rick and I are native English speakers, and like the translation was clearly done by, because I remember we looked in the credits and it was like there was one person who seems to be like a native Spanish speaker, and so we imagine that for you it's actually probably reads kind of fine, because like it's like English second language kind of writing from a Spanish perspective. So if Spanish is your first language, you might not notice a whole lot, like it might.
Yeah,
might be fine.
I swear I didn't notice, but like looking back, it was like, oh yeah, you're actually kind of right.
And for anyone who's listening to this, like, don't let this be the thing that discourages you from playing it, because again, like, at its core, there's some really solid moments of gameplay in here.
Yeah.
It's more like it's so close to being right, it's so obviously wrong, like an uncanny valley thing. Like,
yeah,
and it did distract us. Your mileage may vary with that. I wouldn't say it was game breaking. So if everything sounds good and you're thinking, oh, actually, but that's going to be the thing, don't let that be the sole thing.
Yeah, because I was gonna
Yeah,
say like
because
in
like
English. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Paula.
like the overall package of the game, I think is totally worth your time.
Yeah.
And there are like some very good moments, as Rick says, when the game goes smoothly, it pretty much sings and it is beautiful.
It's at its absolute strongest in its gameplay, which really, I'm hoping that's why you're coming to a game. You know, like for me, I can forgive. I think we've talked about this before. I can forgive some story stuff if the game itself is fun, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
It's a little harder for me the other way around.
Yeah.
uh,
Oh, also, the let the pixel art and the
yeah,
animations speak for themselves because they also
I
got
think
nominated for a prize.
award-nominated pixel art.
yeah.
Yep, the award-nominated pixel art. Sorry, I
Award
just had
nominated.
to
That sounds
say
weird
that
to say
because
that.
I'm so proud of them.
Yeah, it is very beautiful. Like that's one thing I never had any complaint with. I was like, "Ooh, pretty." And yeah, the pixel art's it's just really lovely. One thing I was gonna say, oh yeah, about if English isn't your first language and you're playing it through in English, you might not notice anything. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's actually something interesting that I do want to talk about some other time too, when it comes to, because there's a book I'm reading anyway that has similar issues where it's like it's the syntax. Like sometimes it's just the phrasing, the way something's phrased that if you're a native English speaker, it just trips you up, right? And like that's
Yeah.
what it was. Where it's like I'm expecting this form, but then I get a different one, and that's what stops me. Where I go like, and it's literally just it's like a mental stoppage, right? Which again, if you're not a native English speaker, you might not actually feel that stoppage. You're probably just looking through it, going like, okay, whatever, got it, and you head on, you know. So anyway, that's enough on that. Multiverse was very fun overall though, and stay tuned because next week we're gonna have a nice little interview with those fellas, and you'll get to hear all about the game, the development, and what a unique opportunity for us, right? So thanks to those two for coming on again. Rick, why don't you tell
Yeah,
us?
also I really want that a spoiler cast to happen because I have to talk about so many references that I found.
This is a part of the beauty too. So it's fun that we get to interview them with Paula as well, who like actually you know them. So there's that nice kind of connection there. And then Rick and I are kind of this total outside eye of just like, hi, we played your game. Which I hope will make for a nice dynamic.
Yeah, that's gonna be
Yeah.
pretty fun.
So yeah, I will jump in quickly, and because I've only got one more completion from this week, and we've done it the wrong way around because I did barrel through the last half of this game to free up my Switch to play Multiverse. This game being Astral Chain. Oh, it's one of those 8s that should have been a 10, and
Yeah.
it's so deeply frustrating. So the combat is phenomenal. It's unlike anything I've played, and I think if you're someone who owns a Switch, you should play it on that strength alone because it's unlike anything anywhere, character action or otherwise. It really is an elegant system that's well pitched over the course of the 20 hours or so it takes to main plus ish the game. There are so many options. It really does use to the fullest this new system that it's built up. And as I alluded to last week, the inputs for that system could have gotten very messy and very bad really, really easily. And it's a credit to Platinum and all the experience that they've got with this kind of game that they found a way to make it work so seamlessly. I should say with that, I did change the control scheme to one of the alternate presets. It did lead to a couple of slightly awkward button combos, one of which being like each of your companion characters have two bonus abilities that you use on the left and right bumpers when you hold down their button. Now, on the regular controls, that button is like Y or X. The preset I switched to, you essentially have to hold left trigger and then sometimes press left bumper as well, so you end up with a bit of a claw thing going on. That's on me. That's because I wanted different buttons in different places. But I think overall, it's absolutely fine. Works a treat. Everything feels fluid. The counters are all strong. The game is really, really stodgy, and it, in a slightly different way, I suppose, to the Multiverse, it doesn't give you enough of the fun. In this instance, it's Platinum deciding that actually, instead of a really focused character action experience, what you want is a quasi-open world where you're like gyroscopically carrying cardboard boxes and ice creams, and you're picking up trash and putting it in trash cans, and like doing random things for civilians in between parts of missions. And like, yeah, you can run past it, but A, you're going to be super underleveled. B, it's going to impact the scoring system that this game's got. And C, if you're anything like me, seeing all those markers on the mini map that you're just running by and ignoring, it just gnaws away at a little part of you. So it's tricky. The story is okay. It has its pros, it has its cons. It's not why you're here, but it does a reasonable enough job of giving you a reason to plug through and justifying all the different things that you do. I can't remember if I mentioned last week, there's a whole custom robo-style minigame that's almost pointless where you have to clean off your companions. There's lots of little systems like that that are superfluous or pointless or almost pointless to the point that you think that they should have just been trimmed or excised. And it just gets to the point where you're like, right, I just want to fight some more enemies now. Peak platinum for me was always Vanquish. 4 hours. Pitch perfect. Not a moment of fat on that stake. And that's, I suppose, what I wanted from Astral Chain. I either wanted it to commit to the open world and give me something different and see them stretch their legs and do what they've threatened to do, you know, from time to time in some of the other games, or give me, you know, a really tight 10 hours. Don't make me do like a 10-minute on rails bike sequence that barely functions. Don't make me clean my robot. Don't make me run around the police precinct in like a mascot costume. Just give me the combat. And in that middle ground, you know, some of that side content is good. Some of it's great even, but most of it's just a waste of time. And it is just a detraction from what is otherwise a phenomenal game and an achievement, really, in many, many ways. Doubly so fitting it on that hardware. The game looks incredible. So, yeah, play it, but
it's
do
on
your
my
best to skip
Switch.
the fact. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say, it's on my Switch to play, but I've always been a little, because I'm like, all the stuff that I hear, I'm like, oh, it sounds so good, but then like just so like, yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna play it one day, but it's kind of
You have to.
keeps going a little.
You
Yeah,
have to.
I have to continue my playthrough of that one because I played like around 2 hours, and oh my god, yeah, the combat is beautiful, phenomenal.
And you know what? The combat really hits its stride around the 4 or 5 hour mark when you get the full suite of abilities. As I say, they do really pace what they give you well. And I think they have to because there is almost a rub your belly, pat your back situation. Pat your back, pat your tummy.
Yeah.
No, rub your belly, pat your head. Sick.
It's
there
difficult,
you are.
like saying
this episode, rub your belly, pat your back. There is a learning curve to moving both of them in space. And also, it's not like other systems that might be similar, where you might be controlling one character directly and then maybe just issuing one-off commands to the other. You have to be constantly aware of where they both are in space at any given time. You have a stamina meter for your other character. You have to bear in mind the chain between the two of you, because certain abilities take advantage of that. Certain things can be hampered by that. There are certain enemies where you have to be acutely aware of what that chain is saying. And there's like 2 or 3 different layers of abilities and combo sets that are all slightly applicable in slightly different ways. So there's a lot of information to process and juggle at any one time, and I think it's good that they do pace it in. It does mean, again, in combination with all this guff, that the game is a little bit slow to go. Absolutely worth going back to, Paula. Absolutely worth playing, Alex. It's just worth knowing going in that the game's at least 8 hours longer than it needed to be.
Ooh, yeah.
And that is eternally annoying, because the 12 hours plus that's there, so worth experiencing.
Might be a game
It's
I
just
end up
annoying.
playing and retiring eventually.
Yeah, retiring and swearing you're going to come back to one day.
Yeah, which, I mean, because really, I just want to experience it. So if I can get through all the really fun shit and then be like, I think I'm good, I'll figure it out.
And that's totally valid. And I'll be honest, there are moments when I thought about doing exactly the same, particularly in a final boss that is balls to the wall hard, and also to a certain extent makes you play the game a different way to the way you play almost the rest of the game. But I actually I actually do think it was a good boss fight once I'd fought through it, because I think actually it does make you use parts of your arsenal that you wouldn't ordinarily. It makes you play a bit more cautiously, which a lot of the rest of the game allows you to not do. Another negative to throw out there, the platforming is kind of dog shit. But again, this is 8 that should have been a 10. You end up focusing on the bits that dragged it down to an 8, not all the bits that could have made it a 10. The game is amazing. The game is amazing. There's just a lot of not amazing stuck to the amazing. Sick analogy. Paula, tell us about Timberborn.
Sort of a theme for that. Yeah, anyway.
I was thinking that could have been like an idea title.
I think I'm Timber done with this. Paula, please jump in.
Okay. So I kind of like finished Timberborn. Like game is like in early access, but from what I gather in How Long to Beat, like people said like, yeah, it's finished once you finish like all the stuff with the folktales that are like one of the first faction you can play as. So I did that. I even tried to start like the second run with the Iron Tooth, that is like the second faction of the game, but it isn't the folktales. Like the mechanics of the second faction are like so vastly different, like in various specific ways that make you almost like you have to plan your city structure in a whole other way to what I was already used to. So I was like, you know what? I'm good. Like I'm leaving this playthrough here with the folktales because I had a lot of fun and I have my fun with the game, and I'll go back to it maybe when the game is gets a full release. But right now, I'm done with this game. And yeah, that's Timberborn. I still think people should play this because I played a lot of like strategy / RTS / like city building stuff, and there's nothing like this. There's nothing else like this. So yeah, it is like very mechanically tight. Like things like the throat comes like at very regular intervals, and it makes the game more challenging as you go on. But once you get to that point where your beavers have transcended the humanity and the world and everything, the game just stays there. Like the throws don't matter anymore. So that's like the only drawback that I have. There's nothing but the throws to hold you back in your beaver city building process. So yeah, Alex.
I got a whole bunch.
I see.
Yeah, so I got EB Games or GameStop here now, whatever. They're like so desperate to get you to trade in games for them because you could tell that's how they make their money. That they were running like a really damn good trade-in deal where it was like, I don't know, 7 like PS4 titles even, and like Xbox titles or whatever, and you would get like this big bonus. And so I had a bunch of these PS4 titles that like honestly I own on my Xbox now. So I was kind of like, I don't need these damn games. So I brought them in, and I thought they were just kind of old and like not worth a whole lot. These dudes gave me like $120 for all of them, and I was like, yes, I will trade those in. I was like, absolutely. I can't sell these for $5 on Kijiji. Go ahead, right? I was like, damn. I guess and I get it's kind of like this whole they've got the system where like casual players, parents will come in and buy things, so they'll pay more, right? But like in the used game market, motherfuckers aren't paying a whole lot for old games, right? They're like, no thanks. So anyway, I did that, and I got Warioware and the new Kirby for free. And so I beat Warioware, get it together. It takes I beat it in a sitting, right? It takes like 2.5 hours basically.
That's every Warioware game. Yeah, you play the thing once and you're through.
This one's interesting. Like,
Ooh.
Nothing is gonna beat touched and smooth moves for me. Those ones are always gonna be the best, just because maybe even twisted a little bit because that was super fun. I spin around that. But I love the gimmicks with WarioWare games because you basically just get developers who get to be like, okay, look, I don't want to make a whole damn game around this Wiimote, but I can sure make some fun shit based on it. And you've got the Joy-Cons, and I feel like I can hear the board meeting or whatever where this game was pitched, and they're like, oh my god, Joy-Cons, we could do this, we could do that. And they're like, yeah, but we got the Switch Lite. And someone was like, they could just pair a Joy-Con and yeah, but
Yeah.
no. And you're like,
Yeah.
what do you mean no? And they're like, you're gonna have to make it different. You're gonna have to make it so they can play it on the Switch Lite. And they're like, oh fuck.
Mhm.
I feel like they were really hammed in on this one. And so instead they've got this concept where, and this is kind of neat, so you get to play as all of the characters from these WarioWare games, and they all have different mechanics to them. And there's also
I've
this
seen that, yeah.
kind of co-op emphasis, because some of the characters really have a co-op thing in it too, and I haven't played a co-op, and maybe it's fun co-op, I don't know. The thing is, some of the characters you're not gonna play as them because it's kind of shit. Because like, there's one who can't fucking move. He sits on the ground, and you have to like launch a fucking disc that will then move you, and that's so much harder than other characters who can fucking move around. So you're never gonna play as that guy because you don't have to. Like, you play as him once to unlock him, and then you're like, no, why would I do that? This is a game about quick reactions. Why would I play as the guy who can't fucking move?
And can you use them all for all the puzzles, or is it like specific ones? Because I envisage the Scribblenauts problem where you have to plan it so openly that it ceases to be a challenge, sort of thing.
So what it seems like is that I think, and I can't say for certain, but what I feel like each character, they've created like 25 or so mini games that work for that character, and those levels overlap, but every single level is designed to work for that character, right?
Gotcha.
So, but there are some levels that I think they just know that, like, okay, this mechanic just won't work here. So I imagine it was quite the design to do this. Like, I imagine it was like a pretty big, oh shit, we got these 20 characters. And so I feel like they basically grouped them. They're like, okay, these characters have similar-ish mechanics, and they could do this. And so that's kind of how it's done. Which is very unique and intriguing. It's fun to play through once. I didn't really mess around with the other modes because I was like, I don't know. It's WarioWare. I like to just go in and play the video games and have fun. You know what I'm saying? I might come back to it so I can get more of the games that I haven't unlocked yet, but I've yet to kind of find I don't really think there's like an infinite one, which kind of sucks because like there's always like the boss, and then I think it sort of ends. But maybe when you replay it, maybe the boss fights get harder, because I know they usually do that in WarioWare, but I haven't checked yet, so I'm not sure. It's fun. I can see why it was released at a budget price, which isn't that much of a budget price, like 65 or something like that. But it's like more budget price. I got it, like I said, free played, so whatever. I can't really complain. It's definitely a game that I think, and it certainly will go on sale. I have zero doubts in my mind it will go on sale. I think it's been on sale already before. Worth picking up on sale. It is WarioWare. It's stupid, which is why it's fun. So like, I think playing it with some friends might be a good time. But it's definitely not like, it's not the best. It's all right, you know. 7 out of 10. That's what I'll say. Good. 6 or 7, maybe 6.5. It's all right. So anyway, moving on. I also played the Hex, another Daniel Mullins game. It's a great game, yeah. Fun, cool game. I genuinely enjoyed the Fallout inspired segment. I was like, what I love is like he always adds some level to it. Like in the Fallout one, you get cheats that you can implement, and then you have to decide how many cheats you use as you're going through. And I'm like, that's just smart. And I really liked the faux programming bit in the game as well. There's like this sort of section where you do some faux programming, and I actually found that really fun. I was like, oh, this is a neat little puzzle to do in here. Some elements drag on a little more than necessary, like the Chandrel bit. There's like this fantasy game thing that I found a little like, I was like, okie dokie, let's move along here.
I found that with Pony Island as well, though. I think for all that Mullins does that's really good, I think he does maybe need to edit a little bit better. But
which
maybe
I have to
Inscription
say,
needs to fix that.
Oh my god. Playing the Hex and then playing Inscription is like a masterpiece, frankly. It is so good. Okay. There is no fat in that game at all. But also, it's probably because I fucking love card roguelike battlers so much that I was like, this is amazing. But personally, I think Inscription is easily his best work. Not to discount the other works. It's just, it's like we talked about with Risk of Rain, right? Where it's like Risk of Rain 2 is so good that Risk of Rain is fine, but you got Risk of Rain 2.
Just by sheer comparison, yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of the same with this. I'm like, holy shit! Like, I do think playing Inscription first is probably maybe the good way of doing it. I don't know, but either way, I had fun with it. I thought it was nice. It was a cool narrative. It didn't overstay its welcome. You know, it felt like it was like the right amount of time. Like you said, though, could use a little bit of editing, but cool ideas, and just really feels like something that can only be made now that video games have been around for so long, right? Like it's and that's why. Yeah, right. Like it's referential, but not in that like not in the member berries way, you know, like in an interesting way where you're like, oh, like you're not trying to be realistic about what games are really like. You're creating a fantastical world of video games, and the best, you know, honestly, like, and this is sort of, it might sound like, you know, like I'm putting it the game, but it's very childlike in the sense that it like gives you that sense of imagination a little bit in it. Like there's this feeling of like, yeah, maybe that's better. It's very imaginative, in a really fun way, and it's very sincere. Which this is something that I actually think is kind of tough with these games, in that, it doesn't like it actually takes itself seriously, which is, I have to say, like kind of refreshing, because I think there is a level of, in Western media too, there's a level of snark that we get a lot, and like think of even like Marvel movies or MCU, right? A lot of it is making fun of itself, right? And or being this thing where it's like, hey, you know, like that thing that movies do, or like the Ryan Reynolds effect, right? Like this is silly, you know, like that kind of thing, which is fine.
As
like,
they don't just do it, yeah, sure.
I enjoy that a lot too. But this is one where it's like, no, actually, I'm going to tell this story that is kind of silly, honestly, but like I'm gonna play it pretty straight, and I respect that, you know? Like I'm like, oh, this is kind of nice and refreshing. Like, yeah, at times some things are like a little corny, but you're like, I appreciate that they actually do that to tell the story, and that he does that. He actually like commits to it, you know? Anyway, that's just what I thought of the hacks. I feel like people should really play it, because I think it's a really fun experience, and it's usually very cheap. So go to town. What else did I play? Triangle Strategy, beat it. Okay, so last week, actually, I commented on a game that has bad voice acting, and then I never talked about it. That's this game. And let me give a caveat here. It's not the voice actors' faults, okay? The individual voice actors, they're actually doing an admirable job. There's a few issues. And first off, the writing is something. talk about a week on translations. So it's kind of like...
Are you going to tell me that a game called Project Triangle Strategy doesn't have the best writing? I don't buy it, not for a second.
And so here's the issue. The story is actually fantastic. Like the story is very good and compelling. The characters are interesting. It's just that the writing itself is a bit stilted, because they've gone for this medieval-esque Old English type narrative, which I am certain that the Japanese is using the more formal Japanese and the more kind of archaic Japanese, and I bet you it's fantastic. I think what we have here is a case of localizers going, fuck. You know, like they're like, oh god, how do I translate this into something that's compelling and understandable in English? And they did a pretty good job overall. Because when you just read it, it's kind of fine. It's actually pretty good. But then when you hear people saying it, what they've done is, so you have two issues, right? First issue is it's pixel art. And so there's no faces. You know what I mean? Like, they're just little sprites kind of doing little emotional things. But there's like, it doesn't look like they're talking. So there's already that disconnect. There's a reason why I think older games, when it's pixel art, benefit from not having voice acting. And I think it's in part because you need something like a face to connect a voice to. You just kind of need that. Secondly, they've done nothing to add ambiance to the voices. The voices, I feel like I'm sitting in the fucking recording booth with them. It's so clear and crisp that you're like, oh, hey actor, I didn't see you there. You know, like that's what it feels like. And an example actually, so I'm playing Yakuza right now. And there's an example in this where they enter into the Millennium Tower, and all of a sudden, Kiryu and Haruka, is it Hakura or Haruka? Haruka. They're talking, and suddenly their voices are echoing. And you're like, oh, right. They're in a very empty, huge building. Their voices would fucking echo. It fits. It feels like it's contextualized within the space. Is that a fair comparison? Not really. Yakuza is a pretty cinematic game, 3D, whatever. But again, you can't see their voices because you're controlling the characters, so their mouths. So actually, maybe it does kind of work. But there's ambiance there, and if you go and listen to any game that has good voice acting, their voices feel like they fit within the environment. But within Triangle Strategy, never does. There's music, but there's no real ambiance to make the voices fit in. So it's a bit rough. I would maybe honestly recommend turning on the Japanese voice acting because it's pretty good. And if you don't understand Japanese, you'll be like, well, I don't fucking care. You can just skip through everything anyway. And it sounds fine. Also, some of the dudes and like the people in it sound really intense. But then I did it for a bit, but then I wanted to switch back because the voice acting is not not that bad. It's just clearly could have been better, Now, that aside, fuck yeah, this game rules. So the combat is super fun. And shit, I found out why there are so many characters in the game because I got what's called the golden route, which I kind of recommend if you play this to maybe take a look at a few strategy guides because the golden route, the ending of this game is so fucking satisfying and thematically cohesive. And here's the thing. There's a lot of branches to this game. There are tons of choices that split off the story, and there are basically 4 drastically different endings to this game that have drastically different combat paths to them as well. Like, I might go back and just play through some of them, but the one that I played through, fuck me, they test your skills. They're like, oh yeah, you got this route, huh? All right, fucker. Get ready. You better know how to play this game. I was like, oh, shit. And so, in particular, because it does this thing where, like, I don't really think this is a spoiler, but this is good to know, actually. You're going to have to split your team up into a couple different teams. And, shit, you're not going to have a full number of characters to play some really fucking hard battles. One of them was easy because I had kind of all my magic people on one of them. And magic is so powerful in this game. Like, I had this character who can grant TP, which is like your points to use skills to other characters. And so with that dude and my magic casters, I was like a fucking wrecking ball. Like, I was like, no one can touch me with this. Like, I'll just plow through hordes of enemies with this. But anyway, killer game, like so much fun to the point where I think I might play through it again. At some point, not right now, but at some point just to try the different paths and different things that you could do. I feel like I've seen the optimal one and I really love it. So I kind of want to see what happens if I try other ways. So anyway, I cannot recommend Triangle Strategy highly enough. It is a absolutely beautiful game, gorgeous looking, beautiful pixel art. Voice acting could be better. Holds it back from being a perfect 10 out of 10. It's like a 9 out of 10 for me. Had that been like a little polished up, this would be like a perfect 10 out of 10 for me. Also a game that, like, I have to say, if you're looking for a game to like sink a lot of time into, you couldn't look for a better game. There's so much you could do within this, and there are so many unique combinations of characters that you could do, but fascinating skills that have these beautiful synergies that like work together wonderfully. It's just fantastic. So anyway, yeah, Triangle Strategy. Last thing, which is I'm cheating again because it was a book.
That's what BFB stands for.
I see.
Listen,
I spent the last half hour just being like, "What's a BFB and why?"
I know. I was hoping that'd be a thing. Boss fight books.
Oh, what a cocksucker!
Yeah, that's true. Hey, listen, they're about video games. You've got all of them on PDFs.
That's true. That is very true. Fair enough. Yeah, if you put PDF, then that would have been fair enough.
PDF. Yeah, there you go. So I read the physical one. I read Metal Gear Solid. This one's by Ashley and Anthony Birch, which you all know who Ashley Birch is. Ashley Birch is the voice of Tiny Tina and Aloy in Horizon Forbidden West and Dawn or whatever. Prolific voice actor. They're siblings. Anthony Birch is the lead writer on Borderlands 2, and he does a lot of writing for like League of Legends and a bunch of Riot game stuff that hasn't been announced yet. So, things like that. So the great team. They also had like an old web series back in the day, like a little video thing that was pretty funny. It's like, I don't know. Anyway, it's a really unique writing on this because they're tackling Metal Gear Solid, and so like they're kind of flipping between each other, and so it's kind of like a dialogue between the two of them,
like a Kodak, right? Okay.
Actually, yeah. And it's very well done. And the thing is, like, I've played Metal Gear Solids. I played Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3. For some reason, I never played 4 and 5. I think 4's cutscene hell kind of freaks me out a little bit. I don't want to sit in for too much. And 5, I just bounced off of a little. But anyway, what I really love about this book is that they clearly adore this game. Like, it is a formative part of the childhood. But they do such a good job of critically looking at it from all angles, and like really and so I've seen some people complain, they're like, do these guys even like this game, because they like rag on it a lot. But like, that to me actually shows me how much they love this game, because they really delve so deeply into the mechanics of the game, into the story, into like the characters, into the themes that come out of it, for better and for worse, right? And really take it as this kind of artifact of a time period in gaming, and really analyze it deeply for that. And there's something that that I think Anthony mentions in it that I kind of wanted to like ask you two about a little bit, that I think is really fascinating, is that he talks about this concept of how when he was younger, he really loved these story heavy games, right? This was the big thing. It was like, oh, I'm playing the games for like, oh yeah, these mature, interesting stories, right? But that as he's gotten older, he's found that he's like, no, I care more about the gameplay within the games. And like, for me, it's like that. He's like, this is what I love. Like, I want, and like, that's actually why looking back at Metal Gear Solid is sort of sad, because he's like, actually, the gameplay is kind of bad. You know, like it's not very good in Metal Gear Solid. Like the sneaking, like he says at one point, Kojima does this whole thing in the intro where like it teaches you how to leave footprints in the snow to like distract guards, and that is the only time you do it. There's no other times when you're allowed to do this. And he's like, why? Like, this crazy. Anyway, and like you have to like go into your menu and click use item on the item itself. Like, you can't just like use the, it's a whole thing. So anyway, but something that I thought was interesting in that question is like how in like game development now, like this seems like such an existential difficulty of how do you design a game for such polarizingly different audiences and viewpoints, right? Because there are some of us who will look at a game like Metal Gear Solid or whatever, and look to this and be like, yeah, look at this like incredible story that it tells. Like, this is what game's all about. And then we also have this group who's like, no, like the gameplay is so important. And like, I'm still not sure if anything's really married the two super satisfyingly. Like, we've gotten close, right, with things like Last of Us, but yeah.
13 Sentinels, I guess, for him.
Come on, you know that did not marry the story and gameplay. It's kind of a good example though, right? Because the gameplay almost sits separately a little bit from the really intense story elements within that. Actually, yeah. That's kind of a great example of the difficulty of doing it, right?
And I think the short answer is you don't. Like, there are occasions where you can get close, or you can get it in such a way as you like satisfy one and don't dissatisfy the other.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. But I think it's a fool's errand to try and be all things to all people in any walk of life.
Oh, absolutely.
And I don't see any reason why that wouldn't apply to games.
Yeah, I just wonder too. Like, I always think to myself, like, when will be the day when those elements feel just so cohesively put together? You know, and maybe some of the games that do, because again, he talks a little bit, and we've talked a lot about this too, about or the organic storytelling. What's the name for that comes up?
Emerging.
Yes, emergent gameplay, right? And emergent storytelling. Like, that is like, he's saying, that's what I love the most about gaming. And I'm like, I agree with you, good sir, who's around my demographic age range. Like, you know what I mean? So anyway, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that, Paula?
Yeah, so in the topic of gameplay and story, like merging together is like very, very difficult. Like, I've actually trying to plan around like a project that tries to do that in a way, but then you have to think like, when does the story start like compromising the gameplay, or when does the gameplay not really reflect the story? Like, you have to really think about what makes the story and the gameplay, how to make the gameplay tell the story instead of having maybe a third party, or like a narrator, or like the characters telling the story instead.
It is the eternal struggle of game development, I think.
Yeah.
Dope. All right. Well, why don't we jump into retirements? I'm gonna quickly, because I have about a 1 minute retirement, maybe less. Pictooi. Fuck this game. That's
It
all I
didn't
have
get
to
any
say.
better then.
No, fuck it. It's too slow.
Oh,
I don't like it.
oh no.
And that's it. That's been Alex's retirement corner. Paula,
Cool.
tell me about the game you retired.
It's a rare
I
Paula
retired.
retirement.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna rain. Cats and dogs, and I don't know. Something's gonna happen.
Cats and dogs and velociraptors.
And velociraptors. Yeah. So
Is that the sound they make?
actually,
I think so.
I actually had a dream of raining velociraptors, and it was weird. Sorry. So, Jurassic World Evolution, the game is pretty solid. The thing is trying to complete the challenge because, like, there's a story mode to this game, and it gets like I dropped that because I really wanted to work like in one park instead of jumping to all these different islands. And then I was like, hey, I'm gonna do the challenge mode and complete the game that way. Well, getting your island to 5 stars is I don't want to say impossible, but it is pretty much close to that. Because there's so many things you have to micromanage to get your park there. I got to 4.5 stars. Let it be known that I got pretty close to the 5-star ranking. But once I ran out of space, I was like, well, how do I get to 5 stars? And well, even though you have like this massive park with all these dinosaurs and all these creatures, you also have to take into account that your the guests, the visitors, the people who visit this park, no shit, Sherlock. Sorry, are they want to buy stuff. They want to see like the dinosaurs like in all the habitats, and probably you have to put like enough points on your cages so the guests can see all the dinosaurs and have them have like near perfect visibility of the marvelous creatures you have there. But also you have to provide entertainment and stuff like that. And I'm like, fuck that. I want to have my parks because full of dinosaurs. I don't care about giving bowling and arcade games to the visitors. It's like, you don't go to the museum to play games, do you?
I just love the idea of
No.
like visitors where they're like, yeah, the dinosaurs were cool, but actually I want to play some House of the Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I was pretty satisfied how my parks turned out to be because I managed to never had like a huge outbreak except for the velociraptors, obviously, but I never had like any injuries at my park, which I don't know how that happened because those velociraptors are little gremlins, and no one will tell me otherwise. And at the very least, like dinosaur welfare was amazing there. Like my dinosaurs have a pretty long life up there. They have their happy little lives, revived lives. There the visitors have like a 4.5 rating of entertainment and stuff like that. So I'm happy with how that turned out.
Paula's king of the
So
dinosaurs.
yeah.
Queen of the
So
dinosaurs.
yeah, that's Jurassic World Evolutions. For anyone like interested in city builder games, I would recommend it.
Well then, look at wow, that was faster. We're on to playing now. Rick,
Ooh.
you've been patiently waiting. Why don't you tell us what you've been playing?
Oh, go on then. I mean, there's not a lot new, I'll be honest. So I'm going to scoot through most of this. Risk of Rain 2, I'm still playing it. I'm still playing the Void. That railgunner's damn powerful. I did a run with my brother a couple of days ago. I did 67,000 damage in one hit.
Nice.
Because you stack a few like crits, you stack a few crowbars, you stack a few things together that all do that like first high hit boss damage, and you can crank out some real numbers. We haven't done like a Void completion yet, and I think that probably is at the point where this game will take a breather for me. But we're getting close. We're getting close. and the game just continues to throw new things out and surprise me and excite and delight me, which is exactly what you want from a game like that. The Witcher is still there. I haven't really made any progress on that in the last week. Ditto Days Gone. Ditto Mario and Luigi Partners in Time. Ditto Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. They're all there, but I've just been focused on my completions. So with all those name dropped and then left to one side, there are only 2 real games to talk about for me this week. The first of those is a little game called Part-Time UFO, which is the game that I've currently got running on my Switch. It's adorable. It's so good. I almost wish I got it on mobile because it is perfectly suited just to play for a minute. Like, it's very, very bite-sized, but there's a load of extra content on the Switch version, and I do think that it was worth getting that way. So the conceit of the game is that you are a little alien in a little UFO that's crash landed on Earth, and you need money to fix your spaceship to get home. So you start taking like odd jobs and part-time jobs around Earth. So one day you might be building a Parthenon type structure. One day you might be helping cheerleaders stack themselves up to a specific height. One day you might be helping a farmer put the fruit back in his basket. Basically, if it's a job that can be done with an arcade style grabber claw, which is what your UFO has, Natch, then you'll be doing it. And there's just such charm to the game. It's got this, oh gosh, how do I describe it? You know, in Rayman Legends, they've got like the lums singing in the background, and it's like a Hawaiian kind of luau thing. That kind of music in the back of this game almost all the time. It's lovely. The art's adorable. There's loads of little like random box boys running around because it's the same dev. You can even buy loads of different like UFO fascias, one of which is like a Kirby themed one. And each of the different themed UFOs you buy, when you press one of the trigger buttons, they do something cool. And Kirby's he just has a little like squared thumb up that he just throws out there.
And this
So
is
it's
a HAL
adorable.
Lab games, right?
It certainly is, yeah. So they, like I said, it's originally developed for mobile, and then it got like an enhanced and expanded Switch port about a year later. It's great, even at full price, which is not quite what I paid. It's really, really good. It's like £9. It's super, super indie budget kind of pricing. Just a lot of fun and full of charm, and just makes me happy to play. The other game, and this is my mobile game, is a little game called Dot Project. So I would like to shout out friend of the podcast R2D21999 for bringing this to my attention on the Discord, which you can join and you can get to us on that should you so choose. If you've already left too many comments and smashed too many like buttons and sent too many emails and posted too many forum posts, the Discord is the last bastion. So Dot Project is one that I think you would quite like, the two of you as well, actually. It is kind of Picross-ish in feel. It's very much not. So the way that it works, it's almost like you're on the inside of a cube and you can see the two sideward faces in front of you. It's like isometric. And on those, you can see a shadow of the squares in like a 5x5 grid that need to be filled in. And you have to build a structure in the middle such that it fills everything in both side panels. And on each level, there is a minimum number in which to do that and a maximum number. And you have to hit both in order to progress. It's really, really clever because what it does is makes you think really creatively about essentially lines of sight and the way that the blocks is intersect with that. It's really cheap. It's like £1.80 on the phone.
Yeah, it looks really
scratches
cool.
that itch, and it doesn't. You'll be pleased to hear, Alex, make you read a fact about a random piece of nature or invention and wait a minute to load the next level every time.
Good.
So it instant plus, yeah. I like it. I also got it for free because I happen to have play vouchers bouncing around. But I think it's a very fair price for what you're getting in terms of game, and it's very suited to sort of jump in, jump out on the phone kind of thing. That's all of the stuff I've been playing. Paula, Alex, who wants to jump in next?
I'll go ahead. So
Sweet.
I've continued my playthrough of Variable Barricade, and I finished one of the routes of the game after 20 something hours of playing through.
Christ.
And the game is pretty fun. There's a little bit too much, like the drama part of the route, like overstayed its welcome a little bit. And for context, this is Sion's route, which may mean nothing to you, but I'm just gonna state that. Anyways, and yeah, it was very entertaining. The protagonist is a bit too hard-headed in this route, and he's like, why can't you just do the thing? For fuck's sake. But it wasn't like to a point it was utterly frustrating, which would have been like a deal breaker for me. So I've heard that this is like this is like Kiwami at her worst, I think. So it can only get better from here. Yay! And I'm just gonna say I started this game thinking like these 4 characters that she was supposed to choose from were all unredeemable gremlins. But they have their redeeming factors, and some of them are really good, some of them are kind of meh. But it makes for an interesting and entertaining story. So I'll probably try to finish another route for next week and talk more about that and see how Kiwami changes depending on the route you choose. I've also been playing Minecraft, the Java edition on PC. And this one with my boyfriend because he wanted to play something like together, so we chose Minecraft.
Nice.
And it has been like really fun. Like for me, Minecraft is more of a relaxing game. I don't do like much adventuring here. And I just want to do building and make my farm and have my chicken coop and all the stuff that just because it's like I like playing Stardew Valley on Minecraft pretty much. Minus the commerce, I guess. The economy, I guess. And yeah, I don't really have much to say because we haven't like really started like doing like proper exploration yet. But I think we got like we decided to build like in a place where a lot of monsters like spawn. Like I already have been chased by creepers many times, and we have the Enderman visiting every other day pretty much. I got killed by a pillager, which I don't know where the pillager came from. Um, I think it's just me, but I tend, for some reason, each time I play Minecraft, I have like all these creeps like visiting my place, and at the very least, I haven't had like a creeper like blowing up like on the house that I was building because that would make me like really sad. Moving on. The Great Six Attorney Adventures on Switch. I finally started this game. Finally. And I have to say, the game looks so much better on Switch than in 3DS. And it's like, no shit, Sherlock, but the models are the same, but the resolution is way higher and it's beautiful. And the music is also like at a higher resolution and it is beautiful. Chef kiss. So I think on like the second part of the first trial of the game, and yeah, I'm there. I'm getting there. So I'm gonna try to play this one like really quick, and then go into the Great Southern to Resolve, just to have like the full continuity of the story. Because
I anyone else... Oh, sorry, go on.
Go ahead, Rick. Go ahead.
I was just gonna be really snarky about how appropriate it was that you said no shit Sherlock about this game in particular. I didn't mean to derail you. I thought you'd already finished your sentence. I'm feeling quite bad right now.
Oh, damn it.
I didn't really have anything good to add. That was it.
It's okay.
You're saying full continuity. You're gonna play the second
Yeah,
one.
I want to have that full continuity of the game. I've also been playing Chrono Trigger, and I'm only like like half an hour in, but just enough to have the story kick in.
Have you played before?
I haven't played this before. It's my first time playing it.
This is the best
So this is
version
gonna
too.
be
So
interesting. Yeah, I've heard that. So
Mm.
I kind of like sell the 7 Seas and got my copy of the game.
I got a physical copy on the DS before
Oh my
Same.
god.
DS prices went crazy, or like really used game prices, and I'm so happy. Yeah, because this one it has the added in. I can't remember. I think it was on PlayStation or something. Anyway, they added in
There's a couple of cutscenes,
and stuff.
like
Yeah,
CG things. They also, I think, redid the translation for the DS version.
I think so. And I know that the
Really?
map, like, because there's map on the bottom, I think it's stuff too. Like, anyway, it's just
You have that extra function. You also have like this really superfluous monster training mini game, which as a kid I sunk more hours than I care to admit into for zero practical purpose. I was a sucker for those DS gimmicks. I spent forever like grinding out the 3-point friend token things on the World Ends With You as well.
Nice.
Because there were certain like pin evolutions you could only get doing that. So I'd be there like sat with my brother's DS just in download mode, just like clawing the bare minimum points. Because I was a kid, like
Yeah.
age 13 in a normal high school. I didn't know anyone else who played the fucking World Ends With You, did I?
No,
So I
of
wasn't
course
getting any
not.
regular. I wasn't getting regular pass. Like that wasn't happening in the UK. So
Love it.
again, completely derailed it. Chrono Trigger, great game, Paula, and you are playing the best version. I agree.
Beautiful. So yeah, that's for it for this week because I really haven't done much on this game.
That's fair. I can't wait to hear your
Yeah,
updates.
yeah, I'm probably gonna have like a couple of updates for next week. And finally, keep talking and nobody explodes. I love this
Great game.
game. Yeah. You have to like for those who don't know, Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes is a game about defusing bombs, but one of the players is the one controlling and defusing the bomb, and the other one is the bomb expert that has to look up the manual on how to defuse like that particular bomb.
Which bit were you doing? Were you the diffuser or were you the reader?
Oh, I'm usually like the diffuser, but for this particular playthrough, I'm actually the bomb expert.
Ooh.
So it is nerve-wracking because the manual is a very hefty manual. So you have to look up like various pages, and if you forget like the order on how things are displayed like on the manual, well, good luck. Hopefully you didn't pass that those instructions about the weird cable vent diagram modules. And yeah, it has been a lot of fun. I think we're around chapter 4, chapter 5 out of I don't remember how many chapters they are or how
Too
many
many
bombs
because
to
they get
defuse there are.
very hard.
Yeah, we are just to get to the needy modules, and I'm scared out of my life because we already have like a couple of not so nice bombs to defuse, and there are like two particular modules. The one where you have to like, I guess rebuild the world out of like the disc. Yeah, that's the particular one that I particularly hate because the 2 times we have it, we run out of time.
Have you played this one, Alex? Or
no, I've considered getting it because I think the VR experience would work really nice.
Do you know, it probably would actually. Yeah, it's
one of us in there while the other.
Yeah, it's. I'm trying to think if it's the same one that you're saying, Paolo. The one where it's like, if it says a word, you have to respond with a different word, and some of the words are like nothing and like full stop, and it throws you off that way.
Oh no,
I
it's
might
the
be
one
thinking of a
where
completely different
you
module.
have like the disc like and on each disc you have like 5 letters and you have to reconstruct like a 5-letter word.
Oh god, yeah, that one's rubbish as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Alex is nodding like, yeah, they are bad, aren't they?
Yeah, like but the one you mentioned, we actually didn't have like that bad of time with that one because since we use the Spanish, we read the words like they're written as if they were written in Spanish. So we give them like different pronunciations that way.
Oh, well, I'd give to see that. I'm looking forward to seeing how you find needy modules next week.
I'm gonna cry. That's what's gonna happen.
Maybe.
Well, why don't I jump in now there? I don't have a whole lot actually for what I'm playing right now because I just beat a lot of games. I got Clubhouse Games, the 51 Worldwide Classics on the Switch, because again, GameStop is really trying to push you with their used games, and they gave me because I bought not even all at once. Like I have just bought 5 used games in the last like year or two, and they were like, you may now have a 6th one for free. As long as it's under $40, and Worldwide Classics was under $40. So I went, I will take this. And they were like, there you go. And I kind of felt like I was like, this is actually a good deal. What's going on here? You know, feel like you're getting away with something. You're like, why are you letting me do this? So anyway, I got that. I gotta say, man, like I know this game might seem like kind of nothing, but like it is so polished. Like it's just really pretty. Like all the pieces are really like tactile looking, and like they look nice. And it also does this really beautiful thing where like I was playing the chess version, and it'll like update you. Like you can go from like normal, hard, harder, harder. But then it also has a whole section on like how to play. It has these like really detailed interactive tutorials for like all of the games, except for ones that are like too simple. Like checkers is not giving you a multi. Like it's like here's how to play checkers. All right, fuck off. It's checkers. You know what I mean? Like you're like, yeah, there's strategy and stuff, but like you don't need a multi-step tutorial for this. Like you just need one tutorial and that's good. But then for games that have a lot of strategy to them, they have like you can almost call them little campaigns to go through, and then you can play them with other people. All of it's touchscreen enabled, but then of course you can also just play them on your TV. There are multiple ways to play each of the games. A really great thing to have. Like I especially think if you have like family who maybe aren't really like as into games, but you want something to play with them and like get them into trying games. This is kind of an awesome way because it sort of sells itself on like all the classic games without the mess. And I get it. That's kind of legit. It's like, yeah, this does feel like I could see myself like taking off the Joy-Cons and just putting like the Switch on table and just playing chess with someone, and it would feel good, like it actually feels good to do it like that. So yeah, anyway, I recommend it. It's also not very expensive. Obviously I got it free, so that's nice. But like even at its normal price in Canada, it's like maybe $50 or something like that. Less so in other countries. So anyway, cool game. Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Oh my god. This is one of the best 3D platformers I've ever played in my life. This game is so much fucking fun. This is like, where did this come from? Like in fact, the fact that this is the first Kirby game to do like a 3D platformer really is absurd. But secondly, it is so fucking good. It is so full of personality, so full of charm. The music is incredible. The boss fights are super fun. Here's the thing too. Is Kirby easy? Yeah, I guess. But the thing is, it's so satisfying. It doesn't feel like a game that you're just breezing through, right? Because there's all these little secrets within each level, and then they have these challenge modes that are actually quite difficult to get optimal times on, right? So like, yeah, you can maybe breeze through, but some of them you can't even breeze through. They're like 3-star things. And so like what they do is that you've got like levels that you play through, and then you have these challenges that you can play for the different power-ups that Kirby has. And what's also interesting is that those challenges give you these stars that allow you to actually like level up Kirby's powers in this sort of like main hub town, which is like Waddle Dee Town. And you're rescuing Waddle Dees from each of the stages. And the more that you rescue, the more the town gets populated, the more like structures get built and whatnot. It's really, really, really fun. Like I can't stress enough how much fun it is. And I have to say, the core idea of Kirby, where it's like platforming, but you've got like a little bit of an out where if you mess up a jump, it's okay, is so awesome because like you get into a flow with Kirby. Like you don't feel like have I ever died? No. Have I gotten kind of close? Actually, sometimes. Because I get a little, on a boss, I might just be a little bit like, oh, I'm just gonna pound them and whatever. But like there is like some strategy to it, and like the bosses have fun little patterns that you can play through, and it's just really good. Like, it's really, really good. Only complaint is I wish they would show you what the like things that you're trying to find are kind of hidden, and when you complete a level, it will reveal one of the ones that you miss. Which, like, okay, I get it. I get that that's partly replay, but I kind of would prefer if they would just show me everything that I need as I'm playing through it. That being said, it's not that hard to figure out. Like, if you're observant, which you should be because it's beautiful environments, you'll notice, like, there's seagulls in this one.
Also, game FAQs are a thing. Ooh,
yes,
that
but
wasn't a time
you
to
know,
yawn, sorry.
you don't always want to have to go look up something, when it could just be a feature in the game.
Yeah.
But anyway, I super recommend this. Like, it is, to me, this game is the Kirby, Super Mario Odyssey, or Breath of the Wild. Like, it is of that caliber as far as I'm concerned. Like, it is
game released on the Switch.
Yeah, right? Like, it's just like, but like, honestly, it's like these Switch games for these things have been coming out. Although Metroid Dread sits below that. Doesn't get to be on there. I like that game, but it's not. It's okay. But this is one that I would raise it up on that pantheon of just like god tier Switch games where you're like, fuck yeah, this is what the Switch is all about. Only thing I've heard though is that the co-op is like little brother co-op, where it's like you don't get to play as another Kirby, you play as a fucking Waddle Dee with a spear who doesn't really get to do anything because you don't get to have copy abilities. So it loses a point for that. But to be fair, Super Mario Odyssey has a fucking hat co-op, so And Breath of the Wild doesn't have any, so
yeah,
right?
I guess we've got to have one. So yeah, you can be like, I think my favorite was Mario Galaxy, where you got to literally be one of those little like Lumas. Yeah, it's like, cool. You can pick up all the little useless things. Yeah,
it's to the point where it's like, what's the point, right? Like, because even little kids get that it's stupid. Like, they're like, I don't want to do that, So,
speaking of which, totally off topic. Have either of you guys seen that thing where like the guy got the Fisher Price pretend controller and made it like actually work with Elden Ring?
Yeah, I heard.
What?
I love it.
I'll send you a video, Paula. So for anyone who's listening, there's like a Fisher Price pretend controller, so like baby can play too kind of thing. It charges over USB, like over micro USB. So some clever bugger plugged it into their laptop and tricked it to be like an actual controller to play Elden Ring. Now the problem is it doesn't have a second analog stick. What it does have is a little like left and right toggle at the bottom. So you have to switch that to make the left analog stick the right analog stick. But it's even got like a click-in stick. So you can do like all the crouch and center camera thing. It's stupid. It's stupid. Anyone who's listening, you can find it on Twitter. It's like
that's wonderful.
It's just the stupidest best thing. Again, completely derailed you as you were.
That's fine. But anyway, all that to say that you should play Kirby in the Forgotten Land because it's fantastic. Last thing that I'm playing, I got Yakuza Kiwami on my PC. Oh god, it looks so good. I love it. I just thought, I'm down here. It was on sale. I didn't think I was going to play through the earlier Yakuza games, but I was like, you know what? You know what it actually was? It was when this was Game of the Month. I saw a comment that he mentioned where he bumped it down to easy and blasted through it in 12 hours, and I was like, I could do that. So what I've done, because from what I understand from kind of general consensus, and it moves around a little bit, but like the original like Yakuza 0 to 6, the way that I've seen it kind of like ranked is that people kind of put it like 0 and 6 are kind of like 0, 6, Kiwami 2 are sort of like the best. And then you have like 5, 4, 3, Kiwami. Or well, actually Kiwami might be a little higher, but like it's in that area, right? 4, 3 and Kiwami are kind of like okay, and I would say that playing Kiwami right now, I can kind of see what they're saying, because if you go from 0 to this, 0 is like a masterclass game in general. Like, it's a very good game with a really compelling story. This one's a little more meandery, and I kind of get it because, like, you can sort of see how, like, this was kind of clearly the first one, right? Where I think they're sort of figuring out what Yakuza is. And so the remake, I sort of wish they had kind of gone further. Now, they really do incorporate some things from 0 into this, but not like a lot. Like, it's still kind of standalone. There's one character in this who has so much more of a development in the first and in 0, and thank God I played 0 before, because otherwise I think this character would feel like a total dud. But it's really fun to play Kiryu again. Kamurocho is still gorgeous. putting it in that new engine is like, what a great idea. It looks beautiful. And I gotta say, bumping it down to easy is pretty fun, honestly. You feel like a superhero. And there's some pretty fucking cheap fights in this where you'd have to get like really good. And like, I'm gonna be real here. I don't fucking play Yakuza for the gameplay. Okay, like I just don't. Now some of them I do. Yakuza 0 was fun. The submissions were great. Judgment, awesome, super fun. Lost Judgment. Yakuza 7, like the JRPG one, gameplay was incredible in that because they've changed it. And the thing is, I only have so much time in my life. I know that I'm going to play through Lost Judgment. I'm going to do all the side stories and stuff. But like looking at Kiwami, I'm like, I just kind of want to get more of the story. And the story in this is fun. It's not as good as 0. It's serviceable. It's still, Kiryu is still awesome. He's such a like, the world of Yakuza is a fairy tale because it's a world wherein bad people get their ass kicked and that solves problems, right? Like violence literally solves everything in this world, which it's so obviously not how the world works, but like it's so satisfying. It's great to come in as Kiryu and see this guy who's like taking advantage of, this person and like, trying to coerce them to do something. And then Kiryu comes in and goes, stops a baseball bat with his fucking hand and beats the shit out of the guys. And then they're like, well, sorry, we'll change our ways. Like Kiryu's just like, hell yeah. Like, it's just fun, So anyway, that's Yakuza Kiwami. I actually would really recommend, and I know it might sound sort of silly, but like I do recommend bump the difficulty down to easy and just breeze through the game. There's this Majima Everywhere system in it that's kind of weird, where like Majima, and if you're playing on easy, it is sort of funny. If you're playing on normal, I can imagine the Majima Everywhere gets really annoying because the idea is that Goro Majima shows up to fight you all the time, and like he's trying to get you strong again because you spend a bunch of years in prison or whatever, and you lose your strength. And so he's like, I'm gonna make you strong again, Kiryu, and I want to fight you all the time. So he does all these elaborate things where he just like there's a certain point where he hides behind cars and you'll walk by one and he's like, Kiryu, like he pops out and starts fighting you, and it's quite funny. And like he finds all of these costumes to dress up in, and like it's super fucking silly and weird. And
is this Team Rocket or what?
He's basically Team Rocket, like honest to God. I don't want there's something involving a host club with Majima that is fucking amazing. And like,
oh god,
it is so good. And it is like, because they play it so seriously. Hey, actually, one thing about the host club, because there's this whole kind of mini game, right? Like in all the Yakuza games, there's usually some sort of like dating-esque mini game. And in this one, I gotta give major props to them because there's this character called Rina, who's just she's queer, she's a lesbian, and like she's very open about that. And they discuss like the issues within Japan on this because like she talks about how like an ex-partner who like, and she's just unabashedly gay. She's like, I fucking love ladies. she's like, why do you think I work at a cabaret club? She's like, it's awesome, man. I'm surrounded all the time. It's fun. And she's just very like open and like personable, and like Kiryu's never like, creepy about it. He's just like, oh, you're fun. I like you. You're a nice person. Let's hang out. Like that kind of thing. Right. And like, but it's just great. Like she talks about how like her partner, her ex, left her, and then she got like a message that they're moving overseas, and gonna get married and stuff. And Kiryu's like, why are they moving overseas? Like, is she dating a foreigner? Like, no, they're both Japanese. But then like being open about the fact that she's like, actually like, we can't get married here. They have to go overseas to get married because it's not legal in Japan. I'm pretty sure it's still not legal in Japan. I have to double check, but I know for a long time. Was it in 2021? No, it still doesn't. Yeah, it's still not. So in 2021, they did rule. There was like a ruling in district court in Sapporo that said that it's unconstitutional based on the constitution. But there's been no immediate legal effect on that. So yeah, that's a thing in Japan, right? And in fact, when this game is set, I'm pretty sure, because it's set in 2005, and there were very few countries in the world that had same-sex marriage in 2005. Canada did in July of 2005. Very few. So it's one of those things where people are like, oh yeah, it's legal now. And you're like, yeah, well, hasn't been for very long. Anyway, I was it felt good to see that in the game because I know how popular these games are, and it's nice that they're so explicit about it. And especially in a mini game that's all about like, going to a host club, and like could be one of those things that's just played off as like, oh, here's this girl, like, ooh, but like she's actually like very and it still feels like a full character, right? Not just like a mouthpiece on it. So I was like, nice, Yakuza. I like this. This is great. So that was a nice little surprise that I saw. I don't know if it was in the original. Maybe it's something that was updated in Kiwami, but I hope it was in the first one. But yeah, it was a really nice surprise. So anyway, that's Yakuza Kiwami. It's a really fun game. I'm probably gonna have it beat by next week. But yeah, anyway, that's it. Why don't we move on to we actually have time, incredibly enough, for our topic this week, which is co-op games. So I just hinted a little bit of talking about co-op with Kirby here. But this is thanks to good old Cock. We have a lot of questions that we likely aren't going to get through, even maybe half of them. So probably expect a new game plus at some point on this. But why don't we start with, how has cooperative gameplay changed over the years? Let's start with the big one.
Well, I think you sort of alluded to it there. There's lots of different ways to do it. I think co-op originally is either like the Pong type PvP or the arcade style, like we both have exactly the same thing and we're playing on exactly the same screen, doing the exact same goals. And now you have such a broad range of things. You have split screen, you have what did you call it? Kid brother co-op.
Yeah, little brother co-op.
Totally new term to me, but hey ho. We've got Paula playing Keep Talking, which is asymmetrical co-op. You have the whole Wii U thing, 4v1. You have the not Wii U thing, like Dead by Daylight type 4v1. Friday the 13th Evolve, rest in peace. Like, there's lots of different ways to do it. And I think that just the sheer power and also how many more people are into video games are opening up those things a lot.
Well, I think the idea of co-op wasn't actually natural to games at first. Like, competitive was, right? Like, this idea of playing against each other, I think, was like very much the way that it worked. And probably because it was technically easier to do, to just have each other, like, have you fight the other player. Because like you've mentioned, in co-op, you get the issue of having now to scale your game, right? Like, arguably popping in and making a good co-op game requires that it's very specifically designed for two players to be in it, right? Because I think we've all played games where you jump into a co-op and all of a sudden you're like, I don't think anything's changed, and it's suddenly like way too easy. But from what I understand, at least, like when it comes to because I'm thinking about arcades, right? Because I would imagine, arcades kind of where everything started, and I don't think there was a lot of like business reason to try and introduce co-op, right? Like, competitive made sense. They're like, yeah, fight against each other, put the quarters in there. But then like, you know what I mean? Like, to allow two players to play with each other, which effectively might make it a bit easier,
I suppose that comes later when you look at, I suppose the two that jumped out in my mind besides like, wow, no, let's make that four and in two different things. Well, no, I was thinking more like, and I suppose this does come later, like Turtles in Time, the Simpsons arcade game. But also, like, you have things like Time Crisis, House of the Dead, Outrun, the various racing ones. Although I suppose the racing is more competitive than co-op most of the time. But even, if you look at your House of the Dead, similar kind of things, like that's cooperative. But again, that's quite straightforward because it's the same screen you're seeing. So it makes no difference other than scaling the numbers of enemies up to have a second controller. And actually, twice the amount of quarters or pounds or what coins do you use in Canada and Chile?
We don't. I don't think we'd really had arcades, so
it would just be quarters in Canada.
Yeah, we use 100 pesos. I don't know any Twitter name for them.
Oh, you don't have like a really catchy thing.
Yeah,
we don't have a
Canadian
thing
loony
here.
Or toonies. We have the loonies and the toonies. Looney is 1, toonies is 2. Well, and I think too, like, it seems to me like beat 'em ups were kind of the first like that seemed like it was the natural co-op kind of game, right? Like when I think of co-op at its origins, I do think of things like Double Dragon and stuff, right? Like I'm like, yeah, this kind of like go through it together and beat 'em ups, and maybe some shooters.
Again,
like
same
Contra.
screen. Yeah,
like same screen co-op. Yeah, exactly. Like both on because I think that ultimately, when I think of the NES, I just don't think the NES could handle any type of split. Like I don't believe. Maybe people can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think there is any split screen co-op whatsoever on the NES. I don't think that it could handle something like that. And also, why would you, right? Because it's not like you're in a first person perspective on the NES, right? You're looking at a screen, you're both playing together. And I think a lot of couch co-op, like early co-op of like the past the controller co-op, like with platformers and stuff, like me and my bud did this for Super Mario Bros. 3, where like I play a level, he plays a level, I play a level, he plays a level, right? If that's make your own co-op, I guess.
How do we class Pokemon in terms of co-op?
Well, I don't think it is co-op.
That is not co-op at all.
I mean, you are cooperating in the sense that you're trading.
Yeah, you're trading though to battle each other.
It's technically cooperative gameplay.
Yeah, I feel like it's less cooperative though. I feel like there's a word for that. Like it's communal gameplay. Like there's definitely a community to it. But I don't know if because you're not actually playing the game together, right? You're influencing each other's games. But when you're trading, you're not playing with each other, right? You're just trading.
Yeah. Besides, you can go through all the game without trading or without battling other players. So
it is very PvP.
That's kind of weird there.
Yeah.
That's the nail in the coffin of my argument that I didn't really make sincerely. I was hoping would just throw more of a spanner in the works. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Paula. It's fair enough.
I was like, I know my Pokemon. Come on.
I'm
just gonna leave.
Yeah, Rick's like, goodbye now. But yeah, like I feel like and you know, I think I might have a little blind spot, but even when you think of like the SNES and stuff, like I guess really arguably it was all couch co-op for a long time, and it would be like same screen co-op where like you're playing together and you're moving along together. But then when you enter into like shooters, and I'm thinking Xbox generation, PlayStation and whatnot, where you know now you're entering into a world wherein you can split the screen with one another, and your TV is actually big enough to do that. I don't know if any of y'all remember. I remember playing split screen co-op on TVs where I swear to God my Switch has bigger real estate than what the freaking
exaggerating, but not by much. And also, yes,
exactly right. Like it's not that big of an exaggeration. On some of those CRTs, you'd be like, I'd sit up close, and I'm like, I'm gonna find ya.
Oh God, I remember playing like Gran Turismo 3, and like that split screen, like you do end up with a really squeezed in, like horizontal split, and yeah, you can see all the track, but also like your speedometer is kind of right over the top of your car model. It's not the ideal way to do it.
Yeah, I can't remember the game we were playing with my boyfriend, but it was that kind of split screen, and it was horrible because and it was a game where you have to like survive. It was a kind of like survivor, pay your debt and go into an adventure kind of game. So I actually got killed because of that split screen, because I didn't see more than I didn't see enough the screen to see that something was approaching.
And that probably takes us to the biggest change, which is online. Like most co-op now, it's just you have a screen.
Yeah.
And then the other person is sat in a different room somewhere with a screen, or in the same room on a completely different system with a different screen. Which
I gotta say, that is the least satisfying co-op to me, to be honest. Like I now, it's still fun.
It
like
depends.
I think of Risk of Rain, that's co-op. We have a lot of fun with that. Like that's a good time. But there is something about the kinetic feeling of playing together in a good couch co-op. You know what I mean? I still love online co-op. It's great. And in fact, you know, I think of something like Jackbox games, right? Like they've created this, like, you know what I mean? Like that, I have to say, is great because it actually keeps me and my friends, who we all live in different places in the world now, keeps us together, right? We could sit together, we could play a game, and it's just like a fun way of, because otherwise we're just staring at this Zoom screen talking, and that's a nightmare. So, you know, having a game to go around together, it's just really nice, right?
For me, like for me, that kind of gameplay, like having a full screen to myself, was kind of like a godsend in the sense of any game that has like a lot of motion, like most 3D games from third person or first person perspective, because otherwise I cannot play much of it. But because of my motion sickness, and having that screen to myself makes it so it is possible for me to long gameplay section and not run into any trouble. Though it is fun having that split screen when you're playing Mario Kart and you can screen cheat.
Oh, screen cheat. Oh, that is the good shit. There's actually a game that I was thinking of. We were talking about this.
Yeah.
We'll talk about unique co-op mechanics, actually, I guess. There's that one game called Screen Cheat, and literally the whole thing is you're all invisible except on the other player's screen.
Yep.
That game is fun as hell, man. I like it, although it does kind of suck because like my brother, I was playing with my brothers, and they're fucking bad. Like one of them's a little better, but the other one is not good. And I was just decimating them. He was like, "Oh, I can figure it out." So when you play with players who are equally good, it's good. But I actually, before we jump into that, actually, I realized there's one other thing that we should hit on too, though. Sports games. I know we don't play a ton of them, but those I think are really big for cooperative play. Because I know initially they would start as like play against each other, but a lot of sports games allow you to kind of play on the same team. And I don't have a ton of experience with this, but I would imagine that that's quite a lot of fun to get to play with each other and kind of coordinate. But I don't know.
Up to a point, and then you get too competitive about it. Not from personal experience, but tangential personal experience. Like with anything where you get too competitive about it. But yeah, on a technical level, it's amazing that you can do that. And battle royales, let's not forget, like you party up with a team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone who plays those still on more than a semi-regular basis probably has a party.
And I think
the way it's done.
The one thing, because I'm going to let you guys take over the wheel here for the unique ones. I didn't think I had anything to say about this, but apparently I have a lot to say about this. But when I'm talking with like the little brother co-op, right? Like that, I think is a unique thing that was added in mostly from Nintendo's side of things, right? Where it's like I feel like the intention with that is to allow younger players to play with you in this kind of helper role. I just don't know if it's effective. Like I'm not sure if because it seems to me we've talked about this before, where it's like getting someone who doesn't really play games. I feel like they always want to actually play along and be like good in it, and I think the problem is that the idea is like, oh, for your child who's not really good at all at games yet, here's this thing that they can do. They can like move the controller around. But like, I also think the child wants to actually just play the game, and so I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know if it actually works the way it's intended to, but who knows? One day when I have children, I'll let you all know if it actually works or not.
But maybe
I do suspect the overlap between who it's aimed at and who it actually hits for is vanishingly small.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe like you have that point of view of the kid playing like as the character with less mobility, but maybe the parent can help as the character with less mobility in a pitch if the kid is having trouble like playing as Kirby, for example. Or like cover their back or something like that.
Yeah, I could see that maybe in the Kirby game, but then in Mario, it's like Lord
No,
Almighty,
Mario is
the kid
like, no.
can't play it, right? Yeah. Anyway,
be real though.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say in terms of unique examples, I'm struggling to think of ones that really do jump out as unique. One that does spring to mind, although I haven't really played it myself. It's a game called Fogs, like dogs with a PH. And each person plays one half of the dog's head or of the dog's body because the dog's got a head on both sides. And you end up like fighting with each other and like trying to collaborate with each other and making different things work that way. I think that's really clever. But I'm struggling beyond that.
I think we've talked about this a little bit where like Paula talked about the keep talking and nobody explodes. Like that's a unique co-op mechanic. But I'm actually thinking VR. And so this maybe is the way it's also changed is VR has introduced an individual within like wearing the VR headset and then others controlling on say a PC or on their phones or whatever doing something else, right? And there are a lot of games like there's this one game, and Lord, it's escaping me right now. Core and something or whatever, but it's this platformer where one person is like this skeleton guy and you're in VR and you're manipulating the world and moving things around while the other player plays a standard platformer on their PC. And to me, that's such an interesting mixture of things, right? And like even something like Demio now, like everyone's in their co-op, everyone's got their VR glasses and you're all playing together and you're playing like a D&D campaign. And I'm like, the untapped potential there of being able to like have these figures in VR and moving around, it's like, really, I think there's some really unique kind of co-op experiences that can happen with this medium that blend this idea of couch co-op. Because like you said, the keep talking and nobody explodes. It's like, it's great. You could be in the same room and you've got this person, plugged into the VR while everyone's telling them what to do. And they're like going through and they can see what he's doing, like maybe, or can't even see what he's doing on the TV, right? Because like you don't have to have it play on there, or it can just be straight in the VR goggles. So I think there's a lot of interesting and maybe I wouldn't say untapped, but like there's a lot of potential in this realm for that kind of stuff,
There's a ceiling.
Yeah, like,
there's absolutely space to grow.
I imagine like keep talking and now explodes. It's kind of like the person in the manual is like the guy in a chair for this superhero, and the superhero is trying to follow instructions.
I like that. The guy in the chair. That's good. Guy in the chair co-op. That's what we should call it.
I think that video games can make the guy in the chair like very interesting like place to be, or like person to play as, if you do like asymmetric co-op.
Yeah, I think the idea of asymmetric co-op is really neat to me. Like it's just obviously it requires a fair bit of setup, right? Like there's some right place, right time kind of thing. It's like playing a board game, honestly, at this point. Like it really requires that. Like I've got lots of board games I want to play, and then getting us all together to play them is a nightmare. Which is why online is probably the better way of doing it, because at the end of the day I end up playing more. Nowadays I'm trying to see like, damn, what game can I play online with my friends that, and actually this is something that has changed, I think, too, and It Takes Two is an example of it, where it's like co-op where one person needs to own it and then the others can just download and play it because you own it. And I really want more games to start doing this, because it really sucks when you've got a game that you really want to play with your friends, but you can't expect your friends to go out and fucking buy the game, because like sometimes it's expensive, and like I don't know, I can't get all of them to do that. It would just be nice if they could just play with me,
Yeah, like one thing that Driver Zero suffers from is that, okay, your friends can download a version of the game in a way, but they can only use like, I think it was 1 or 2 outfits. And the outfits makes the game like so much easier and so much fun in some sections. So it is a shame that they are limited to that, and instead of like having a full experience.
And I feel like it just locks people out. Like I get there's the money thing where people are like, oh well, like developers are like, I want to make money on this, but like if I get to play your game with friends and have fun, I'm probably more likely to buy that game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because maybe I want to play with other group of friends. Like it's just, I don't know. But what do I know? I'm not a businessman. I don't know. Any other thoughts on this? Have we exhausted the co-op wheel?
I think I've exhausted the unique implementations that exist in my brain. I'm somewhat tempted to throw this out to the people who are hitting the like button while you're next to that comment box. Why don't you let us know what unique implementations you've played? What one do you think we should play? Because we all have co-op situations.
We do.
Available to us.
Tell us in Discord. Plus, okay. Cock was very nice and gave us a lot of questions, and there are quite a few that we did not hit on here. So, if there's any others, to be continued. We'll put it that way, because I would like to come back to this at some point, I think, because there's some interesting stuff here. But any final words, Paula?
Not really.
Nice.
Besides, go play some games with people.
Yeah,
go have some fun.
Hot take: playing games with people is fun. All right.
A game that you can play with people, but we will sue you for copyright infringement if you do. How long to beat the game? It's ours. Check your local IPO. Don't check your local IPO. My host week this week. I don't care.
Rick's like, I'm so tired. I'm done.
and by stark contrast to whatever the fuck I've been doing this episode, this week's game is The Silent Age.
Silent
Age. I've never heard of this game.
Silent Age.
Wait, did you say Silent Age or The Silent Age?
No, the Silent Age.
Okay, The Silent Age.
While these two are searching that game up, quick refresher on the new format. 5 points up for grabs. 3 points, one each, for the person who gets closest to main plus time, 100% time. 2 bonus points for whoever gets the closest on the dealer's choice question. And for me, that question is going to be: how many people are currently playing this game?
Currently playing
it.
I'm looking at it, and this kind of looks like my genre or my kind of game. Like, it looks like mysterious and somewhat creepy, and it's like, but it looks like you have to either explore or escape, and I'm good with that.
It's fun. So on my Steam, when I go and look at it, I've got one friend recommendation for, which is an old forum member called Neo J, and I've got one recommendation against, which is friend of the podcast Abatage. I would like to read out his review in full. Don't go to the Steam page. I want to see your reaction to this in real time. Let me pop that out so I can read it and see it all together. So I'm not going to do the Australian accent because it just won't happen. Do you like time travel in your pointy clicker? This game travels through time by using time travel as its time travel system. The art is really nice for time travel, but the time travel story is badly written, even though it's about time travel. Do you see? This game likes time travel. If you're not sure if this story has anything to do with time travel, don't worry. The game will tell you it's about time travel many times by beating repeatedly in the face with its time travel stick to let you know that it's all about time travel. The puzzles are moronic, but the art is nice.
Wow. Okay.
Nails.
Okay.
Oh, and time travel.
And time travel, yes, absolutely. Don't forget that, Christ.
Okay. I think I've got this one here.
So I'm just waiting for messages individually from Alex and Paula with their 3 times and their best guess as to how many people are currently playing this game. And then we will see who's got which points or not, as the case may be.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
And then I'm going
to go with... This has to be like a short game.
Does it now?
At least.
We'll find out, won't we?
I think so. If it's a point-and-click adventure, I don't feel like they're very long. I don't know.
Well, I've got Alex's answers. No pressure, Paula.
No pressure at all.
No pressure at all.
I feel like I've been overshooting my guesses a lot lately on the bonus stuff, so I've tried to be conservative this time.
I'm trying not to undertake too much because I don't want to give Alex a point. Sorry, but I want not Otome, but whatever Otome may think to happen.
Damn, it's got competitive. And it's worth factoring in, if this is the last round of games that we do, this is your last opportunity to get points, Alex.
I thought we were doing 3 rounds.
If we're doing 3 rounds, then yeah, sure. If we're doing 2, this is your last opportunity.
Can I edit one of them then? I'm gonna. She can't see mine, so I'm editing. I feel nervous now. Should I?
If you want to make a change, you've got like 3 seconds right now, right?
To start editing. Okay. Yes, the bonus question is how many people are playing this game currently?
How many people are playing it currently? Okay.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, I'm gonna edit this then. I'm gonna say this. Okay. I'm locked in.
Madness. Okay. So, the main time. Paula says 3 hours. Alex also says 3 hours.
Okay.
So you both get the point. Nice. For reference, the time is 3.5 hours.
Okay.
For main plus, Paula says 3.5 hours. Alex says 3.5 hours.
Oh my god.
You both get the point. The time is in fact 3.5 hours.
Damn. Okay.
And for 100%, Alex says 3.5 hours. Paula says 4 hours. The time, would you believe it, is 3.5 hours. So that's the 3rd point for Alex.
I changed because I got nervous.
Currently 3-2. And you got even more nervous on the playing. So
yeah, it was really
how many people are currently playing this game? Paula said 15.
Okay.
Alex originally said 3.
I feel like it's way too low.
And then he last minute guessed it up to 10. I can tell you that the number of people is 3.5 hours. No, I'm kidding. It's 12. So you've just stolen it.
I feel embarrassed because I just mathed myself. I thought for a second that I lost it. I was like, oh wait, no. 12
no, I almost
10.
want to take a point off you just for how tragic that was.
I'm stupid.
Oh dear. All told, Paula gets an additional 2 points. Alex gets an additional 5 points.
Hey.
Which puts him temporarily in the lead with 13 points. If I get 3 points in the next game, I will be at the end of the game week, as it were, ahead once again. But as it stands, Alex is 2 points ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we should only do 2 rounds, huh? I mean, we could do 3 if we want. I don't know.
I mean, we could roll it into June. I don't care. It's not going to be Ultimate, let's be real.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's be real. That's sad.
Because we're already well into it. Although, if we do it with the...
If we did a third round, there is technically time for Paula to turn it around.
Yeah. Though I feel like maybe at this point, it's just nice to finish it off with the next week.
Let's see how we feel between this and the Pseudo Voyager episode, and then the next time we record it.
Yeah, we'll find out.
And I need to decide what I'd like my thing to be. I might need a few more weeks to do that. You don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. Oh, so you're going to win, huh? Paula, you must win! No. Well, we'll find out. So it's 13-11-5 right now. We're getting there, though. We're getting there. Oh, that one was close. Yeah, I got real nervous. I was like...
I saw the edit and I already knew what Paula's was, and I was like, do I allow this?
Yeah. Well, I just feel like the fact that we can't see it, I think that's probably what's okay about it. If we could each see it, that would be a little worse. But I don't know what Paula's doing. I was like, I don't know. Anyway, that's it for this week. We're getting real freaking close with this one. Tune in next week for a very special episode with Aaron and Vicente. So, oh wait, did I just say his name correctly? Oh, please tell me I said it correctly. Yes! You got this. Nice. I'll just never live down calling you Paula for so long. Now it feels really weird to say it like that.
And bless you, it took you like 3 weeks to be like, oh, actually, it is Paula.
It's Paula.
I
we're like,
no! It's fine. And we're like, no, we'll fix this.
Or it's like, it's our fault. So there you go. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for tuning in, folks. See you next week.
Peace.